Junie B., first grader. Turkeys we have loved and eaten, and other thankful stuff. Written by Barbara Park. Chapter 5. Talking It Over. I did what Mr. Scary said. I stayed in my seat, and I thought very hard about what just happened here. First, I tapped on my chin. Then I scratched my head, and I strained and strained my brain. But nothing actually came to me. Finally, I tapped on Herbert. Okay, I give up. What just happened here? I asked. Why is Mr. Scary so mad at us? Herbert did a shrug. I'm not really sure, he said. We dived in a pile of money. Who wouldn't do that? May jumped up and pointed to herself. I wouldn't, that's who, she said. I did not dive in the money pile. Instead, I walked around the edges with dignity, and I picked up whatever money squeezed out. Herb looked curious at her. How much money squeezed out? May stood there a minute. None, she said. Exactly, said Herb. May sat back down. Herb looked at the board and sighed. I have a feeling that Mr. Scary really hates our thankful list. May threw her head back. Of course he hates our thankful list, she said. Just look how stupid it is. She hurried to the board, and she read each item out loud. 1. Cranberry jelly in a can. 2. Exploding biscuits. 3. Nipsey doodles. 4. Rainbow sprinkles. 5. Toilet paper. 6. Money. I scratched my head again. I don't see the problem, I said. I think we have a nice little assortment there. May stamped her foot. It's stupid, Junie Jones. Stupid, 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 she said. Who in the world is thankful for toilet paper? Sheldon raised his hand. I am, he said. My grandpa, Ned Potts, says that toilet paper was one of the greatest inventions in history, especially after they put that little cardboard rolly thing inside. I nodded. Yes, I said. That cardboard rolly thing is a genius. If you put some string through it, it makes a lovely necklace for Mother's Day. Jose jumped up. Plus, if you have 2 of them, you can make binoculars, he said. I can make binoculars and spy on my sister, and they really, really work. May did a huffy breath at us. Well, I don't care what you guys say. My mother, Mrs. Mary Murky, says our list from yesterday is ridiculous. She says the children are never thankful for the right stuff. And so that's how come she started a brand new thankful list for us. She reached in her pocket and pulled out the list. My mother says if we use this list, we will win the contest for sure. She unfolded it. Who wants to hear it? Who wants to hear the brand new list my mother started? No one raised their hand. May read it anyway. Our thankful list by Room 1. Number 1. Room 1 is thankful for our mothers, who covered us in blankets of warm, fuzzy love and make our hearts overflow with joy bubbles. Number 2. Room 1 is thankful for the happy sound of our mother's laughter as it tinkles through the air and melts like musical snow crystals in our ears. Number 3. Room 1 is thankful for May. The end. May looked up and grinned. I added that last one myself. I think it fits right in, she said. She folded her list up again, and she skipped back to her seat. At first, Room 1 did not say any words. We just stared at each other with curious eyes. Then finally, Lenny spoke up. "I think we should stick with the Nipsey Doodles," he said. All of the children got relief in our faces. Yes, me too, we said. May's face looked angry at us. She stomped her foot again. "I knew this would happen. I told Mother you people wouldn't listen." She covered her head with her sweater. All of us ignored her. We looked at the board some more. Then, all of a sudden, Shirley clapped her hands together. "Hey, wait! I've got an idea. Let's put something on the list that every grown-up likes. That way Mr. Scaredy will be happier with us. And maybe we'll get more votes from the grown-up judges." I thought for a second. "Yeah, but what does every grown-up like, Shirley?" I asked. "I don't even have a clue." Shirley thought for a second too. Then she sprang right up. "I got it! It just came to me. Nature," she said. "Every grown-up loves nature. They love flowers and trees and mountains and oceans and other junk like that." She clapped her hands. "Plus, every grown-up I know loves cute little forest animals," she said. "Let's put that one on the board. Let's put cute little forest animals." She ran to get the chalk. Sheldon quick stood up. "No, Shirley, wait," he called. "My Aunt Bunny is a grown-up, but she doesn't love forest animals. Last summer she had a run-in with a raccoon. It jumped on her head, and then it just sat there like a hat." He did a shiver. "For a very long time, I mean," he said. Herb nodded. "My mother doesn't like forest animals either," he said. "Last year we went to the state park, and a squirrel spit on her when she handed him a Frito," he said. He looked disturbed. "She said a bad word. We have it on video." Lenny raised his hand. "My grandmother doesn't even like the forest," he said. "Last year, we took her camping and she got her foot stuck in a pork and beans can." He covered his face, very embarrassed. "She said she was trying to make camp slippers." After that, all the other children started telling terrible nature stories too. Shirley hung down her head and went back to her seat. I leaned over and patted her. "Don't feel bad, Shirley," I said. "Being thankful is just harder than we thought." "See," said Jose. He held up his thankful bag. "I brought in our TV remote, but now that seems stupido," he said. He looked over at Roger. "I wish I had forgotten mine like you did, Raj," he said. Roger squirmed in his chair. "Well, I didn't really forget mine, Jose," he said. "I brought in a can of whipped cream, but I squirted it in my mouth before school started." Jose smiled. "Who wouldn't?" he said. Just then we heard feet in the hall. "Shh! Mr. Scaredy is coming! Mr. Scaredy is coming!" we whispered to each other. Then room 1 got speedy quiet, and Mr. Scaredy and Lucille walked right in the door. And ha! We did not get caught talking. Mr. Scaredy took Lucille back to her chair. She fluffed her shiny hair, and she did a spin. "I didn't even get in trouble," she said. "All I had to do was put my money in the safe, and I had to promise not to throw dollars at poor people." Mr. Scaredy frowned his eyebrows. "I don't really think that was our message, Lucille," he said. "We talked about not bragging, and we said that having money doesn't make you better than anyone else. Remember that?" Lucille fluffed some more. Nope, she said. Then she skipped in a circle, and she twirled herself into her chair. Mr. Scary looked at the rest of us. Boys and girls, I'm sure you all know that diving for money was not a good decision, correct? He said. Correct, we shouted. We did not really believe that, but sometimes it is just better to shout correct. Okay, good, he said. Then, if all of you promise to behave like ladies and gentlemen, we'll get on with show and tell. We promise, we shouted. Mr. Scary smiled. We relaxed our shoulders. When a teacher smiles, everything feels better. Chapter 6. Something in Common. Mr. Scary roamed his eyes around the circle. Okay, let's get started again. Who has brought something so special that you can't wait one more second to show us? Me, I shouted. Me. No, me, shouted May even louder. Then she quick jumped up and she reached into her thankful bag. And so I quick jumped up and I reached into my thankful bag too. And then, boom! Both of us pulled out our thankful items at the very same time. And I could not believe my eyeballs, I tell you. On account of me and May brought the same thankful item from home. And here is the shockingest part of all. They were the exact same stuffed elephants. It still takes my breathing away to think about that. 'Cause me and May are nothing alike. And so how can we be thankful for the same elephants? Both of us kept staring at this terrible situation. We could not even say any words. Mr. Scary leaned back in his chair and smiled. Well, this is very interesting, isn't it? He said. His smile got bigger. I actually love this, girls, he said. It just shows us that even when people are quite different from each other, they can still have things in common. He stood up. That's what happened with the Native Americans and the Pilgrims, remember? He asked. Even though they were different from each other, they were thankful for many of the same things, and that allowed them to become friends. I quick raised my hand. Yeah, only May and I are not friends, Mr. Scary. Plus, I don't even get pilgrims, I said. Their costumes look hottish and sweatish. May stepped in front of me. Well, I love pilgrims, she said. I wish I was wearing hot, sweaty pilgrim clothes right now. I did a huff at her. If I was an Indian, I would not eat squash with you, I said. Mr. Scary laughed. See, girls? See how different you are? He said. But look, you're both thankful for the same little toy. I frowned my eyes at that comment. Philip Johnny Bob is not a little toy, Mr. Scary, I said, real annoyed. Philip Johnny Bob is the bestest stuffed animal friend I've ever had. May nodded. And my elephant is my best stuffed animal friend too, she said. His name is Police Sergeant Chuck, and I have known him since my mother brought him home from the store. She held him up for everyone to see. My mother made this little police uniform for him. See it, everyone? She said. He has a little police jacket, and a little police hat, and a shiny little police badge. She looked at Philip Johnny Bob and made a face. Police Sergeant Chuck does not have patches sewed on him like Junie Jones's old elephant, she said. Junie Jones's old elephant has been all torn and ripped. I made squinty eyes at her. Yeah, only here is a news flash, madam, I said. In Mother Nature, elephants do not wear police uniforms. In Mother Nature, Police Sergeant Chuck would look like a nitwit. Philip Johnny Bob laughed out loud. Ha! Good one, Junie B, he said. Plus, I love my patches. Me and Philip have the same actual talking voice. I hugged him real tight. Yes, I know you do, Phil, I said. Plus, the only reason you have patches is because sometimes when you and I wrestle, I accidentally throw you too high in the air. And then you land on the ceiling fan. And I have to turn up the fan speed to get you off. And then you fly across the room and you land on the pointy living room lamp. Philip hugged me back. But I love riding on the ceiling fan, he said. It's fun. I smoothed his softy ears. I know it is, Phil. That's how come I throw you up there whenever Mother is out of the room, I said. May did a gasp. Friends do not throw friends on ceiling fans, she said. Riding on a ceiling fan is even against the law, I bet. Police Sergeant Chuck nodded real fast. Yes, I bet I could arrest him for that, he said. Chuck and May have the same voice too. May smiled. Yes, I bet you could too, she said. And so Police Sergeant Chuck got right in Phil's face, and he said, I'm taking you to jail, Peanut Butter and Johnny. Then he bopped Phil in the head with his trunk. And so Philip bopped him back. And then, bam! They wrestled all around in the air. And they bopped and flopped and socked and thunked. Plus also, they chased each other around the show-and-tell circle. All of Room 1 laughed and clapped. It was very joyful. Then, whoa! A loud voice interrupted all the excitement. Knock it off, you two, it said. Right now. Everyone looked up. Mr. Scary's face was reddish and maddish. Also, his hair looked wildish and spriggish. Me and May stopped running speedy fast. Phil and Chuck stopped running too. Mr. Scary ran his fingers through his wildish hair. What do you girls think you're doing? He said. Me and May looked nervous at each other. We rocked back and forth on our feet, and we tried to think real fast. Well, let's see, I said very shaky. What do we think we're doing, May? May's voice was shaky too. Well, right now, we think Police Sergeant Chuck is chasing Peanut Butter and Johnny because Peanut Butter and Johnny is running away from him. She glanced her eyes at me. Right, Junie Jones? I nodded my fastest. Yes, I said. That is because Peanut Butter and Johnny does not want to be arrested by a nitwit elephant in a police suit. Just then, Police Sergeant Chuck looked shocked at me. Hey, he shouted, you can't say that. Then he turned around to May, and he hollered, cuff him. And before I knew it, May pulled some teensy handcuffs out of Chuck's jacket, and she tried to put them on Philip Johnny Bob. But Philip was way too fast for her, and he ducked out of the way. Then me and Phil started to run again. Only this time, Mr. Scary stepped in front of us, and he took Philip right out of my hands. Plus, he took Police Sergeant Chuck out of May's hands too. After that, he snapped his loud fingers for us to sit down. And so both of us sat. End of joy.